Greetings and welcome to the VigiTrust Advisory Board meeting on protecting critical infrastructures during a geopolitical crisis. Thank you to the VigiTrust team and to the advisory board members. I'm Dr. Yogesh Malhotra, Yogi, from New York State venture capital and private equity firm and AWS Cloud Computing Network partner, Global Risk Management Network LLC. My keynote is titled How to Manage Geopolitical Crisis Risks, Protecting Global and National Critical Infrastructures. I outline a framework for recognizing the key technologies underpinning the ongoing geopolitical crisis, including how we can be of help to you and other CEO-CxO teams. Then I share illustrative snapshots from the current geopolitical crisis encompassing Ukraine. Finally, I outline lessons learned in how to manage geopolitical crisis-driven risks for protection of global and national critical infrastructures. We are fortunate as global digital CEO practices pioneer to lead, guide, and advise world-leading organizations spanning Silicon Valley, Wall Street, Pentagon, global CEO-CxO teams to global digital CEO-CxO trust startups and programs such as Harvard, MIT, and Princeton. As noted in my interviews with Fortune, Inc., CEO Magazine, and Wall Street Journal, among others, we create the digital future by obsoleting what we know before others do so. Born on the cloud, global digital pioneer with world's first, foremost, and largest global digital transformation network, adopted and recommended by millions worldwide, including world leaders such as Microsoft founder Bill Gates, we continue to build the future of AI, cyber, crypto, quantum, risk, cloud computing practices. Having pioneered US national and global information infrastructure practices 20 years ago, our global CEO-CxO team engagements continue to advance those practices nationally and globally. Our latest AWS network partnership has its focus on advancing AI cyber cloud computing CEO-CxO practices for the three leading cloud providers. Having outlined the framework of the key technologies, I now share illustrative snapshots from the current geopolitical crisis. The shown Harvard Business Review article, What Russia's Ongoing Cyber Attacks in Ukraine Suggest About the Future of Cyber Warfare, outlines risk mitigation for various cyber attacks by ensuring up-to-date software patches, effective threat detection and malware detection, and frequent backups. Cloud computing is a ready-made solution wherein many of such features are part of the computing and communications infrastructure. Ratan CEO in recent Harvard Business Review article notes about USA's missing capabilities such as Russia's Mach 10 to Mach 20 hypersonic missiles, which are being recently tested in Ukraine that are capable of delivering nuclear warheads. Our proposed adversarial and counter-adversarial command and control, going beyond traditional thinking on cybersecurity for the US Advanced Battle Management System, offers more specific solutions, as we discussed in 2021 New York State Cybersecurity presentation addressing the Pentagon Joint Chiefs. This MIT Technology Review article titled Propaganda War Has Eclipsed Cyber War in Ukraine is on the role of social media and social influences in digital cyber warfare. In fact, we pioneered the digital social influence focus going back to the beginning of the first web browser, and our models have been picked up by NASA, big banks, amongst others worldwide. The stark contrast between the Ukrainian president wielding his smartphone and the Russian president wielding hypersonic missiles with nuclear warheads has caught the world's attention. So have the videos of volitional, self-determined, ordinary citizens standing in front of enemy tanks, asking them to go home. Such viral videos suggest that despite advances in AI, cyber, and quantum technologies, it is the self-determined humans of their own volition wielding those technologies that may finally matter even in the most formidable adversarial situations. The Financial Times article, among others, has discussed increasing role that the interesting domains of air, space, and cyberspace play in the business continuity of critical infrastructures. This article from Financial Times, titled Inside Ukraine's Online Defense, the Battle Against Moscow's Cyber Attacks, outlines that within an hour of Russian President's pre-dawn announcement on February 24 that he had ordered troops into Ukraine, thousands of modems across Central Europe lost their connection to a satellite flying 36,000 kilometers above Earth. With a sudden loss of data cascading through Europe, 5,800 wind turbines switched to backup mode, and thousands of people across Italy, Germany, and Poland lost their internet connectivity. In Ukraine, that sudden loss of data connection hit scattered army bases as troops quickly moved to other backup encrypted communications. This particular article from Financial Times highlights the focus on cyber insurance, risk assessment, and risk mitigation. Cyber risk insurers have tightened up their underwriting, for example, by introducing limits to what they would insure, and in some cases denying coverage to companies that did not put in place basic controls. Please see my SSRN author page for related insurance industry expert papers, such as sponsored and invited by National Association of Insurance Commissioners on the financial estimation and modeling of cyber risks. Many of the above risk mitigation controls required by cyber risk insurance, such as the multi-factor authentication and safeguarding of private accounts, as well as automated detection and patching of security vulnerabilities, are available in cloud computing systems, more so in the case of managed cloud providers. The open source cloud-based repositories, such as GitHub, that many use to download files, including Docker container images, code libraries, and popular software packages, have been compromised with the DDoS, distributed denial of service attack tools for disrupting network traffic. The DDoS shields and fault-tolerant computing spanning multiple availability zones in the cloud computing systems are integral part of high availability cloud services. See my SSRN page on related presentations on penetration testing and ethical hacking of software vulnerability exploits and malware that go deeper into this topic. Malware and phishing continues the two primary threat vectors in the latest industry reports in the context of Ukraine-related global cyber attacks. See my related presentation on enterprise computing cyber risks in banking and finance and healthcare sectors, addressed to the Fortune 100 and Big 4 US CSOs and CROs, which you can download from the SSRN author page. That US national keynote with 200 plus slides has over 1,300 downloads so far. With reference to these specific risk mitigation measures, the whitelist email validation systems can be used along with user training for mitigating the risk of phishing and whaling attacks. The critical significance of quantum computing and post-quantum cryptography, as well as quantum key distribution technologies that are the focus of R&D and practices, continues to be recognized worldwide. On the SSRN page, you'll find my expert presentations going back about 10 years or so on quantum computing, quantum cryptography, as well as post-quantum cryptography and QKED, in addition to more recent presentations, such as at Princeton University for the Global Quantum PhD Engineers Expert Panel Keynote, as well as the latest New York State Cybersecurity presentation addressed to the DoD Pentagon Joint Chiefs on quantum technologies to alleviate and mitigate the risks of quantum uncertainty and time-space complexity. The emerging and disruptive technologies, EDTs, such as artificial intelligence, quantum technology, and robotics, are set to have a tremendous impact on cyber defense and revolutionize future military strategies and operations. Going back to the beta version of the first web browser, having pioneered digital transformation, including coining of BizTech, on which CIO magazine wrote about us, we have also been leading industry-wide practices on the EDTs as MIT, Princeton faculty, subject matter expert. In addition to our R&D ranked for impact among Nobel Prize winners, which you can download from SSRN page and my publications list and Google Scholar pages, please check out our US Air Force Research Lab, Commercialization Academy Ventures, the Email Exchange, and C4iCyber.com. What they focus on is saving CEO-CxO teams like yours 90% time, effort, and cost in enabling, monetizing, and implementing such technologies, in addition to how to advance beyond traditional cybersecurity to adversarial and counter-adversarial command and control, which is more critical even than AI and quantum supremacies. Our AI cybersecurity masterclass, which we delivered recently to European Union, discusses models, algorithms, and data. MAD is the acronym we use for that. Related insights to help you recognize how the artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning technologies, including natural language processing or NLP, can enable deepfakes to metaverse, just thus enabling fake identities to fake realities, which can further compound cyber threats. We shall see about the deep fake news and deep fake videos in another minute. We shall review the 3 cloud computing platforms from Amazon, Microsoft, and Google that can help mitigate many of the key cyber risks discussed earlier, so that you are in compliance with the insurance firm recommendations besides other regulatory and legal compliance needs. With 32% market share, Amazon AWS cloud computing, of which we are an AWS network partner, is considered the most mature cloud environment with most wide suite of services that are well integrated and comprehensive in scope. With 21% market share, the Microsoft Azure cloud computing is particularly suited for enterprises that want to integrate their Microsoft-powered on-premises platforms with cloud computing capabilities. With 9% market share, Google Cloud Platform hosting Google's public services is particularly suited for compute-intensive applications and is suitable for enterprises with focus on containers and Kubernetes. Coming back to state-sponsored deepfakes, which can be used to sow panic and confusion through leading social media platforms. One recent example of such deepfake, which has been a heavily manipulated video, has depicted the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky as asking his soldiers to lay down their arms and surrender the fight against Russia. The current slide from our 2019 New York State Cybersecurity Conference presentations illustrates our in-depth focus on related adversarial AI technologies applications, such as the generative adversarial networks or GANs. In addition to this, our Princeton presentations of the prior year also focuses on these same themes. You can download these from my SSR and author page. The related paper published in the Journal of Financial Transformation also provides a broad-brushed general understanding of what these technologies are and what's the fragility underlying many of the AI deep learning technologies, which many of the practitioners have to deal with, although many computer scientists are well aware about these limitations. The deepfakes can be used to generate millions of similar digital likenesses of Volodymyr Zelensky, or anyone for that matter, saying a million different things. However, the real AI problem would be discerning which of these millions is the real Volodymyr among millions of digital replicas created by Vladimir or someone else. As common sense and sense-making are much needed for such wicked problems, despite AI not being able to help on these, we continue to focus on building smart minds using smart tools smartly. You can read more on the topic from this article on my displayed LinkedIn homepage. In addition to AI cyber cloud computing technologies related to critical information infrastructures, we also look at selected broader geopolitical risk frameworks. The geopolitical risk dashboard by the Blackstone Investment Institute elevated Russia-NATO conflict to the top in February, while listing related risk of major cyber attacks third. The McKinsey article shown here on how global companies can manage geopolitical risk is much aligned with the approach and focus of today's VigiTrust Advisory Board meeting. The article recommends to start with the board, focusing on where we are now, where we are headed, and what to do about it. Focus on the short, mid, and long-term actions to assess risks. Adapt the corporate narrative for reconcile differences across stakeholders. Deploy refreshed risk frameworks and guidelines using risk heat maps and other visualizations. Secure stakeholders' hearts and minds by looking beyond immediate operations to learn, adapt, and prepare for external and internal shocks and pressures. There are other metrics and measures by Goldman Sachs, PwC, and the Federal Reserve and IMF, which include the financial risk premium, upside, downside surprise, and economic and policy uncertainty. This keynote barely scratches the surface of key technologies and frameworks underpinning the ongoing global crisis, including how we can be of help to you and other CEO-CxO teams. These teams are subject of ongoing analysis of our R&D practices and thought leadership. The same holds for the illustrative snapshots for the current Ukraine geopolitical crisis and prior geopolitical crisis, including Afghanistan and COVID. The lessons learned in how to manage geopolitical crisis build on our last 2 decades-long practices, informing, advancing, and leading CEO-CxO nations and global information infrastructures. Thank you, and I look forward to further learning together in our ongoing dialogue.